Well, we came back after a bit of a layoff and got our guys back in pads. It's always a good thing to get back at it, but there's a lot of things going on that you've got to clean up as well. So a good day to get our guys back with the week off, and of course, timing, all of those things are important, but a lot of good things, a lot to teach off of. There's a lot of installation going on both sides of the ball. I love our guys' energy. I love the way that they're attentive to what we want to teach, but again, it's one of those things that we'll spend most of the day now, correcting a lot of things that went on out there today. But getting exactly what we want from our guys. Not a lot of new roles for players. Again, you've got a lot of guys that have a lot of athletic ability, that are talented, but inexperienced. So that's the exciting part. That's probably going to be the one area that we'll have to grow into as well. So there's going to be some growth along the way here, but there's a lot of excitement as well. So hopefully we'll be able to bring both of those together and put together a really good football team. So with that, questions?
Brian, speaking of different roles, in addition to just moving Farley to corner, it looks like you have some plans for him in your sub package. Could you talk about what you're looking for from him?
Well, I think we've talked about finding a position for him. He's a pretty good athlete. He's got some size, and he's got some experience playing at the highest level. Quite frankly, I think we're still really early in that process for a lot of guys, and I don't think it's just Matthias. I think it's you saw today. It's Cole Luke. It's John Turner. It's Austin Collinsworth. I mean, there's probably 5, 6, 7 guys. It's Eiler Hardy. We're trying to find roles in a lot of our sub packages. Today was a lot of our sub package work today. Today was a lot of third down. And I've never really gone third down this early, because it's usually a migraine headache day for the quarterbacks and the offense. But because we're going to be using a lot of sub packages, we wanted to be able to start to evaluate some of those players. So that was today. And so that's why we brought you in late today, too. We brought you in late today because we wanted to show you we got a lot of those guys that we're trying to evaluate that we really don't know yet. We usually bring you in the first 4 periods and let you watch us stretch in our underwear. Today we brought you in the last 4 periods in third down, where we're trying to get in a lot of personnel and figure out, who those guys are.
And following up on that, I saw right at the end Onwualu was also working in there. How is that transition going for him?
I think it's going well, and we're trying to find that role too, where that is, whether it's down closer to the ball, whether it's back. And I think that there's a lot of different moving pieces there as well. And I wouldn't, he might be a guy that can probably handle both roles on offense and defense in a limited capacity. So he's a really good football player that if we're smart with, that I think he can do some different jobs for us and possibly on both sides of the ball.
Brian, how do you feel like the guys came back from spring break? You were confident that they were not going to indulge too much. How did that work out? And what did Everett do during spring break? Did he go on break or did he work?
He was in Chicago with his family, extended family. I think they all did what I asked them to do. I didn't see anybody on social media. I didn't see anybody on Snapchat putting pictures out there at 2 o'clock in the morning, talking about their escapades in South Padre Island or wherever they may have been. I think they got away, which is what we wanted them to do. I think they enjoyed themselves, but they also knew that when they came back here that we were going to challenge them on Monday. And I think they got away. They recharged their battery. They enjoyed themselves, but they were mature enough to know that when we came back, we had some work to do. And I didn't feel like we took a step back in any fashion. Now, our timing was off today, clearly, especially offensively, where, we had some guys jumping in our quarterback, and receiver, timing was off a little bit today. But that was, I went in there with low expectations in terms of where we would be today from that standpoint.
I didn't see Christian Lombard.
Yeah, he sprained his wrist in the last drill, so we kept him out of the last team time.
There's been so much discussion about Everett as the passer and, reading defenses and everything like that. How about as a running threat there? Just that dimension that he provides, how much does that enhance maybe the overall running game and the overall offense?
It helps a lot. It helps a lot. I can't tell you how much it allows us to help our running game, but more importantly, take some things that the defense wants to do and really exploit it. It really changes what they can do from week to week. We'll get to the point where we'll really want them to bring some pressures against us with a quarterback of that nature. So it changes a lot in the offense and its preparation. It really puts a lot more pressure on what defense will want to do. It tends to, slow defenses down a little bit because you have that running threat with a quarterback.
For lack of a better term, do you have like a pitch count on how often you want Everett to run? Maybe put him into.
No, but I don't think you ever want to put a number on it as much as we'll run. We'll run him to make sure that the defense knows that he's a threat. We're not going to run him to get 3 yards. We're going to run him if you tactically give us an opportunity to make big plays. We feel like we're going to use him to set up, big plays. We're not going to run him as, a function of a 3-4 yard chain mover within our offense. Certainly offenses have that capability, but he's going to be a guy that is going to have big plays when he touches the ball.
And receiver-wise, you've always had somebody to lean on like a Michael Floyd and Tyler Eifert, and last year TJ came along from this. Where do you see the progress and maybe somebody emerging in that?
I think there's different guys. Each one of them will have a different role. I don't think that there's going to be one guy per se, but who knows how that plays out during the year. And it's all the guys that we have veterans, that are not here right now that we hope that, get settled back in here. And we have some guys that got some experience that are young guys that I think have a chance to accelerate their game. So there's a lot of, I feel pretty good that there's enough guys out there that we don't need to have one, he's the guy and we're going to him. We've got enough balance. I think the guy that will settle the offense down when we need to get settled down will be Koyak right now. I mean, he's a guy that we can get the football to and pretty reliable receiver.
Ryan, you wanted last fall for Greg Bryant to just sort of understand what it takes to be a college football player. Where do you think he's sort of in that learning process right now going into his first spring?
Well, I think he's really handled himself well outside of the realm of football and settled in nicely here to Notre Dame. And I think that that's probably the biggest thing that we think that has and will allow him to be an outstanding player for us. Now it's just, learning the offense. Today he was so supercharged out there. We kind of have to settle him down a little bit, but he'll be an outstanding player for us. I think he's really got the whole college experience and handling the academics and being away from home and the weather. He couldn't have gotten a worse draw on weather here as a kid from Florida. So I think he's acclimated quite well to all those things. So now I think he feels like this is smooth sailing now for him. He can just focus on football.
Just with the sub package today, Jalen moving inside, is that just he's here for an extra year, he can handle that?
Well, it's a very good question. We're finding that out right now as to what he can. We're overloading him, quite frankly, with a number of different looks. We don't want offenses to know where he is. We're going to play him in a number of different positions. He could be inside, outside, but we're moving him all over the place.
And I think you may have spoken on McClinchy last week, but to go from not playing at all, I traveled with you, I know, but to taking really the lion's share of first team reps, what's let him make that kind of jump?
Well, I think a good knowledge of our offense by being at every practice with with us. Very rarely did he go and work with the scout team last year. Traveling to every game, being very, very intimately involved in every game plan and every meeting. He's got a very good grasp of the offense. So even though he did not play last year, Pete, he was so central to every piece of rep that he got last year was a real rep. And I think that accelerated his learning curve. And then, of course, he's just gotten a lot of work, here over the last few days, and we'll just continue on that track.
Brian, could you evaluate Romeo, what you've seen from him so far and what you hope to get from him this spring?
I think we're really in that process of, developing his skill set as an edge player, and that's going to take some more time. He's certainly athletic enough. He's strong enough. He's really a strong kid in the weight room, and we're now trying to take all of that almost innate ability and really transferring it as a football player. And he's not there yet, but we're making the progress with him. So we'll need all of spring. We'll need a preseason camp, but our expectations are that when we line up in the fall, that we'll get there with Romeo as a player that really can impact the game.
Coach, just big picture, since you have a little bit less than a month left till the spring game, what do you want to see from your team, over the next couple weeks?
Well, I normally would tell you, in our first kind of get together, it was, really working on that leadership piece with our team, but our guys are so focused on their own deal right now and getting their own position worked down and getting their own house in order. We've got a lot of things going on that I think really what's most important is that we get our handle on our personnel and really develop those guys at their positions right now. And then we'll spend some time in June. Now that we have some time with our guys, we'll spend June really as that opportunity to develop that leadership with our guys. But this spring is really going to be individually about gaining some consistency at those positions and who those guys are. I think that's how the spring needs to go for us. And then we'll work on leadership and things of that nature in June.
And then I also saw Johnny Williams in practice today, just watching from the sideline. Is it nice to see that from a guy who's, not going to be here till the fall, kind of already showing some commitment to the...
Oh, yeah, it's great to see. And we'll see more of the guys coming up as practices, but obviously being over in Berrien Springs for him to be over here. And he looks great. He's put on some weight. He's back in the weight room. And, the harsh winter has helped us in that respect that, the track kids have been inside lifting weights. So it's been a good thing.
Another guy who's active in the sub package today, I want to ask you about John Turner and how he's come along and what his versatility brings to that.
John Turner has been an interesting player for us. I'll go back to his recruitment. We got to see him work out for us for 30 minutes, and we loved his skill set. He's long, he's athletic, and it wasn't translating very well for whatever reasons. And we think that with the position that we're looking at him right now, it seems to be clicking a little bit for John. Coach Van Gorder really likes what he's doing right now, and you know, for whatever reason, sometimes a change does a guy good, right? He may be the beneficiary of that change. But I think he's more the benefit is in that the position in the sub package, I think, takes advantage of a long kid that's almost a tweener. You know, he's almost a backer. He's that big. And so some of the positions that we're running him right now, you know, he can cover a number 2 receiver. And he also can, you know, bring some pressure. So he's got a kind of unique skill set in some of the things we're doing.
Speaking of number 2 receivers, it looked like Amir Carlisle was pretty active in the
Yeah.
sessions practice. We got to see how is his transition.
Yeah, he's doing well. Yeah, you know, barring any setbacks there, I would see he continues to move forward with him and CJ Procise, you know, handling a lot of the inside receiver position work. You know, Torrey Hunter will get some work in there as well, but those guys are working well, and Amir's doing a nice job in there.
Did Carlisle just kind of lose his confidence catching the football during last season?
I
You
mean,
moved him to receiver,
I never
so
asked. I never asked him that personally. You know, I really don't know. I mean, to look back on some of the things, we never really gave him a great opportunity in the passing game per se. I mean, I think he had a couple of you know, tough go routes out of the backfield, but I don't know that I would say that, you know, he lost his confidence in that sense. I mean, his role diminished as the season went on, as Folston kind of, you know, picked his game up, and he may have felt like maybe he was, you know, less involved in the game plan, but he looks pretty confident right now.
And jumping back to the receivers, what do you think Procise can do now, second time through
Yeah.
as a receiver, and how high is Will Fuller's ceiling?
Well, you know, CJ Procise is an outstanding athlete that, you know, and I don't like to call any guys out, but he can give us even more. You know, so I think, you know, if there's a ceiling there, I think we can get more out of CJ. I think he's an outstanding athlete. He doesn't have a typical body type for that position. He's a big kid, but he's an extraordinary athlete. And so I think there's more there, and we're seeing it. He's got speed, he can catch the football, and we think he can be a really good blocker as an inside guy for us. So he's kind of a unique player at that position. You usually don't get him big and physical in there. So I think he's got a high ceiling as well. On the outside, you know, Will Fuller, that kid is just, it's a matter of how far he wants to take his talents, you know. Weight room is going to be huge. Getting stronger, attention to detail, all the things that great players need to do, but he's a pretty good one.
Coach, the left side, I know it's early, but the Stanley-Elmer combination, how's that looking so far?
I think that's, you know, obviously a tandem that is working well together on a day-to-day basis. So, you know, we like what we see there. You know, Steve's still learning the little. He knows big picture, the offense very well. I think what Harry's really kind of drilling down with Steve are the nuances of the game. Screens, for example. Remember how lousy you were on screens? He's worse. You know, things like that. He's really trying to figure out, you know, some of the little nuances in the game. And that's, you know, that's the next step for him. Ronnie has done very well at that position. I think now for Elmer, really picking up the nuances.
Brian, with the investment that you're making defensively in sub packages, what happens when you go up against an offense that plays at the pace that you want to? I mean, are you going to be able to get those guys on the field in those situations?
Well, not necessarily that you'll have to play all of those guys, but you'll certainly be able to get one or two of those guys into the game. But we think that with the personnel that we have, that's why we're moving some guys around a lot right now, because they're going to give us some flexibility to play more than one position. So if you can't get them into the game, we can play them in more than one position. So that's where we think we're going to gain the flexibility defensively.
And then Max Redfield was a guy that you really wanted to invest in at the end of last year, how would you evaluate where he's taken that since?
Well, I don't think there's any question in his athletic ability. There's still a learning curve there for him in terms of what we're doing defensively. But there's such a, he's such a gifted athlete that it's so hard to look past his athletic ability. Even though he's chasing, the number 2 in the flat when he's got the deep middle. We're still in the learning curve with Max, but he is so gifted that that's why you're coaching, right? You got to get Max Redfield ready, and we're going to get him ready.
Coach, you said you wanted Malik to challenge Everett. Have you seen that early on? It looked like he got quite a few snaps out there today.
Malik's, I would say the big picture is Malik's doing well. I like, one of the things with Malik is that, as I said to you, he gives you, a 10-second answer for a 2-second question. And he's getting better at that. He's much more concise, and everything that he does, his whole demeanor has to be that way. And I like that, and we're shaping that to the level that we need to, because that's what you have to be the starter here at Notre Dame. And so I like the track that he's on. It's getting better. It really is.
Because there's so many moving parts offensively, defensively, our special teams a little more on the back burner than what they might typically do?
No, we've done special teams every day since we've been here. It's the first time I've done it. So we've had special teams in each one of the first 3 practices. I don't know if you've watched this, but we haven't been very good at special teams. So at my level that we want to be, and so we're practicing special teams.
What have you learned from these first practices as far as special teams go?
Well, to me, where some of our shortcomings have been is the allocation of personnel in specific roles, and so we're spending time in breaking out specific players in some specific roles right away. So we're working on those fundamentals so they can carry those fundamentals into the summer and then work on those fundamentals. So when we get here in August, it's not the first time that they're working on specific fundamentals. So we're allocating specific players to those fundamentals.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks.